Imagine naming your band the Beatles in 2024. That is the level of audacity we are dealing with today. We are talking about The Wailing, and no, not the 2016 Korean masterpiece by Na Hong-jin that we all worship. We're talking about El Llanto, the 2024 Spanish horror drama that decided to borrow the heavyweight champion's belt for its English title. It follows meet Rear Window, but filtered through the lens of generational trauma and the absolute nightmare of Zoom calls. Now, my reaction walking from this film, it's complicated. This movie is dripping with dread. It is visually stunning. There are shots in here that will live rent-free in my head for weeks. Specifically, a moment involving a shadow in a doorway that is so subtle you almost miss it. But also a movie that drives 100 miles per hour into a brick wall about halfway through. Today we're dissecting The Wailing 2024. We're going to look at how it weaponizes the camera lens to expose domestic abuse, why the pacing might make you check your watch, and I'm going to explain why the ending isn't just a cliffhanger. It's actually a socio-political statement that might piss you off. Stick around because there is a visual trick this movie pulls with invisible characters that completely redefines how we should watch ghost stories, and I guarantee you missed it the first time. The movie opens with a cold open that pulls zero punches. We're in a nightclub. It's loud, it's chaotic. A young woman is dancing like her life depends on it, until she starts violently smashing her head against a surface. Right away, the movie tells you we aren't doing jump scares yet, we are doing psychological damage. We then jump to present-day Madrid with our first protagonist, Andrea. Andrea discovers she's adopted. She is the classic horror inciting incident. But the real horror kicks in during a video call with her boyfriend, Pao. Now, we've all seen the screen live horror movies like Unfriended or Host. Usually they're gimmicky, but here it's terrifying. Andrea sees a figure standing behind Poe. Poe can't see it. The camera sees it. Andrea sees it. This leads to the first major death. The entity attacks Poe. Andrea is watching this happen over a screen, helpless. This is where the film's cinematography shines. It doesn't shove the monster in your face. It uses deep focus and shadows. It respects your intelligence. You're scanning the frame, looking for the thread, just like Andrea is. Andrea becomes obsessed. She tracks the wailing sound to a brutalist apartment building. But this is where the movie feels like a procedural detective story. She's hunting a ghost. But then the movie does something brazen. Andrea enters a building. We're expecting a showdown. Maybe she finds a clue. Maybe she escapes. Nope, the entity isolates her and kills her. Boom, chapter over, protagonist dead. And this brings us to the structural brick wall I mentioned earlier. We hard cut to 20 years ago. We are now following a film student named Camila. This is a risk, a huge risk. We just spent 30 minutes investing in Andrea. And the movie essentially says, forget her, look at this new person. Narratively, this kind of drags. The momentum we built with Andrea flatlines for a bit because we have to relearn a whole new character's motivation. It's a slow burn that teeters on extinguishing the fire entirely. However, this is where the meta commentary gets kind of juicy. Camila becomes obsessed with a woman named Marie, who we realize is Andrea's biological mother. Camila starts filming Marie for a project. This is where Camila reviews her footage and realizes the entity, this old man figure, is stalking Marie. But he is only visible on film. Naked eye, nothing. Through a lens, there he is. There's a scene where Camila is in the room with Marie. The camera is rolling. In the foreground, on the monitor, the entity appears and snaps Camila's neck. Marie is standing right there, watching her friend die by an invisible force. This establishes the rules. The camera is the truth teller. The human eye lies. This is crucial for the theme we'll get to later about why nobody helps these women. But before we get to the third act, I have to warn you, the way this movie resolves, or rather doesn't resolve, is going to frustrate you a lot. But there is a very specific reason they chose to end it this way. And it has to do with the nest inside the apartment. If you want to experience the haunted apartment sequence blind, and you should, because it's a nightmare, pause the video, go watch El Llanto, and come back. Because we need to talk about what happens to Marie, and why the old man isn't just a spooky ghost. Okay, we are in the deep water now. Chapter 3 follows Marie. Right after Camila's death, she is the sole survivor. She tracks the entity back to the brutalist apartment we saw Andrea enter 20 years ago. This sequence is the highlight of the film. It is pure nightmare fuel. The apartment acts as a nest. It's not just haunted by the old man, it's haunted by the spirits of all the women he has tortured and killed. Marie confronts the entity, but here's a twist. He doesn't kill her. He ejects her. He throws her out on the street. She survives, and she is immediately arrested. The police think she killed Camila. She is trapped by the law, not the ghost. And this brings us to the epilogue. We're back in the present, after Andrea's death. The curse hasn't ended, it just moved to Lisbeth, Marie's little sister. The trauma is collateral, it flows downstream. Let's talk about what this actually means. The Wailing isn't really about a ghost, it's a drama wearing a horror skin suit. The old man parallels the mundane, everyday violence women face, specifically domestic abuse that happens behind closed doors. Think about the camera mechanic. The entity is invisible to the naked eye, but visible on film. This is the perfect metaphor for everything is fine culture. You know that neighbor, the one who is definitely not being beaten by her husband, but she's always clumsy, always has a fresh bruise. To the naked eye, to society, she's fine. We ignore it. We gaslight ourselves into thinking it's not happening because it's uncomfortable to acknowledge. But the camera captures the objective truth. It forces you to see the spooky monster. That is actually just the man in the room. The film posits that this violence is cyclical. It's generational. Andrea dies. Maria is incarcerated and dies. And Lisbeth inherits the trauma. The open loop I mentioned at the start, the flaw that ruins the ending, it's not a plot hole, it's a lack of victory. There is no defeating the monster here. They don't burn the bones to save the day. The only victory these women get is believing each other. That's it. In a genre that usually demands a hero, this movie says sometimes the only win you have is someone to hold your hand while you go through hell. Is that satisfying as a horror movie fan? Not exactly. It feels abrupt. As a human being, it feels tragic and honest. So where does this leave The Wailing 2024? The cinematography is fantastic. The shot composition creates a sense of dread that rivals the best of the genre. The concept of the camera revealing the abuser is brilliant. The haunted apartment sequence in the finale, it is a masterclass in atmospheric horror. The pacing, that cut from Andrea to Camila is a momentum killer though. The movie drags its feet right when it should be sprinting, and the ending feels like it ran out of film rather than reaching a natural conclusion. It is a movie that demands patience, and frankly, I'm not sure the payoff is quite big enough to justify the slow burn. So I'm giving The Wailing Llanto 3 out of 5 stars. It's a solid entry with big ideas and beautiful visuals, but it buckles under the weight of its own structure. Do you prefer horror movies where the monster is defeated, or do you like the bleak endings where the evil continues? Let me know down in the comments below. I'm Wes, this is Atomic Cult Media. Stay scary.